I tell everybody, it's not going to be Dylan Mortensen. It's not going to be Bethany Funk. That is the maker and breaker of this case. It's going to be the expert witnesses and this digital forensic evidence. For anybody that's been on this channel for any significant amount of time, there was a few things that happened. When we saw the Brett Payne affidavit for the first time and read it on here, one, we were ridiculously shocked about the whole Dylan Mortensen revelation. It was not expected. You see what I'm saying? Like, that threw us a curveball, and we were on that topic for, I want to say, a couple months. Now we're at this point in this case, and so we're looking at this and we're like scratching our heads like, you know, all this stuff we read months ago, we haven't really referred to it much. I mean, we've referred to it, but we haven't read it again. We haven't gone through it in detail with all this new information. We started seeing numbers and dates like June 23rd, 2022, and we're all scratching our butts saying, why are they looking in June 23rd? Well, we just found out. This is on page 16. It says, on December 23rd, 2022, I was granted a search warrant for Kohberger's historic CSLI from June 23rd, 2022. And as we learned, June 23rd, 2022 is the date that Bryan Kohberger opened his phone account with AT&T, not me. But so now you understand. So June 23rd is now we're now starting to realize why we're looking at June 23rd. Well, happy Wednesday to all. I just got done doing a live on the Bullhornbetty channel for our coffee club. If you have not had an opportunity to view one of our lives, please consider coming and joining our coffee club. That's Monday through Friday from 6:30 in the morning to 8:30 in the morning, and I hope to see you there. We are covering the case of the Idaho 4, and this is 4 University of Idaho students that were slain in their off-campus housing on the outskirts of the University of Idaho in their sleep on November 13th in the early morning hours between 4 a.m. and 4:20. On December 30th, Bryan Kohberger was arrested and charged with this heinous crime. Many people have learned a lot about Bryan Kohberger since December 30th when he was arrested. I had the opportunity of being on location the day he was named as the person responsible for these crimes. And we were outside of his Steptoe apartment when law enforcement was serving the search warrant as well. We've had a lot of questions related to the Brett Payne affidavit, and we've received the redacted and sealed documents from AT&T, which had more questions than answered by the time we were done reviewing the search warrant. Since then, we have learned some information this morning on the Coffee Club. 3rd, 2022, pursuant to a search warrant, I received records of 8458 phone from AT&T. These records indicate that the 8458 phone is subscribed to Bryan Kohberger at an address in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, and the account has been open since, check this out, June 23rd, 2022. June 23rd, 2022 is when his phone has been open. Could this be the reason why we have these AT&T wireless numbers? Could this be from phones that they acquired during the search and would like to know who owned those phones? Could this be other Bryan Kohberger's past phones that they need information on? There's a lot of stuff here that is starting to kind of make sense with these search warrants. Primarily, this most recent one from AT&T, where it doesn't state any roommates, it doesn't state any victims, and it doesn't state Bryan specifically. It's stating that they need information on wireless number blank for a subscriber, which is unknown at the time of this request. And when we read the Brett Payne affidavit, we find out that Bryan Kohberger actually opened his phone account that he went to Wazoo with. The 8458 phone was opened under contract with AT&T or Burner, month to month, again, on June 23rd, 2022. This is on page 16. It says, on December 23rd, 2022, I was granted a search warrant for Kohberger's historic CSLI from June 23rd, 2022. And as we learned, June 23rd, 2022 is the date that Bryan Kohberger opened his phone account with AT&T. Look at what dates they're looking for. Right? What dates are they looking for? Look at that. The date he opened his AT&T account. Now that June 23rd, 2022 time now makes sense. Right? We couldn't understand why June 23rd, 2022. Well, we have to go back to the Brett Payne affidavit. And the Brett Payne affidavit tells us that Bryan Kohberger opened his phone account on June 23rd, 2022. But so now you understand. So June 23rd is now we're now starting to realize why we're looking at June 23rd. On December 23rd, 2022, pursuant to the search warrant, I received the historical records for 8458 phone from AT&T from the time the account was opened in June 2022. After consulting with CastSA, I was able to determine the estimate location for 8458 phone from June 2022 to present. Records for the 8458 phone show that 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that provided coverage to the area of 1122 King Road on the last 12 occasions prior to November 13th, 2022. All of these occasions, except for one, occurred in the late evening and early morning hours of their respective days. One of these occasions on what date? August 21st, 2022. This happened on him being pulled over happened on the 21st, August 21st. It happened on August 21st, and we know that because even the Brett Payne affidavit states that he was pulled over by law enforcement on the 21st, August 21st, 2022. So according on page 10, on page 10 of the Brett Payne affidavit, they're talking about Corporal Duke, but what they didn't put in here is the date or is the time that he was pulled over. Was it late evening? Was it early morning? But they didn't put the time on page 10 when Corporal Duke pulled Bryan Kohberger over. They just said it was he was detained as part of a traffic stop by Corporal Duke on August 21st. And then when you read further in the Brett Payne affidavit, you get to page 16. And page 16 basically breaks it down and says that Bryan Kohberger had been at that location about 12 times prior to the offense, all of which were in the early morning hours. And that it even includes one of those occasions being August 21st, 2022. The 8458 phone utilized resources providing coverage to the King Road residents from approximately 10:34 p.m. to 11:35 p.m. At approximately 11:37 p.m. was when Bryan Kohberger was stopped by Duke. So as soon as he left the property, within 2 minutes of him leaving the King Road property, he was pulled over by Corporal Duke. and he was utilizing that 8548 cell phone number. That at least provides us a little more detail, especially in the timeline of Bryan Kohberger. This is good information. This is legit good information related to this, and why we're seeing this weird June 23rd date on the AT&T search warrant stuff. I agree that there's a lot of stuff as information's coming out that a lot of people are going to be mimicking. But one thing I didn't see on here moving forward was the correlation between these, showing why. You know, we're talking about this weird June 23rd, 2022 timeframe, and nobody understands why are they looking that. And even the August 1st, I can't figure that out, because even according to this, you know, this court rep paying affidavit, you got some issues. I mean, not issues that are going to hinder the state in any way, but you've got some issues here. They're painting a clear picture, and not only that, they have him in and around the King Road residence, and then arrest him 2 minutes after he leaves, according to his historical data. This is going to be huge. This is why I tell everybody, it's not going to be Dylan Mortensen. It's not going to be Bethany Funk. That is the maker and breaker of this case. It's going to be the expert witnesses and this digital forensic evidence. This is what's going to seal the fate of Bryan Kohberger. For anybody that's been on this channel for any significant amount of time, there was a few things that happened. When we saw the Brett Payne affidavit for the first time and read it on here, one, we were ridiculously shocked about the whole Dylan Mortensen revelation. It was not expected. You see what I'm saying? Like, that threw us a curveball, and we were on that topic for, I want to say, a couple months, talking about the 911 call, talking about why it took 8 hours to make that 911 call, what was going on inside that home for that time, why did they call friends? We had that Brett Payne affidavit took us in a totally different way at that moment. But now we're here. Now we're at this point in this case. And so we're looking at this and we're like scratching our heads like, you know, all this stuff we read months ago, we haven't really referred to it much. I mean, we've referred to it, but we haven't read it again. We haven't gone through it in detail with all this new information. We started seeing numbers and dates like June 23rd, 2022, and we're all scratching our butts saying, why are they looking in June 23rd? Well, we just found out. Because he opened his phone account on June 23rd, 2022. So even though this AT&T, because this AT&T makes no reference of Bryan Kohberger, it makes no reference of the victims, it makes no reference of the surviving roommates, but it does reference a date. And that date, if you cross-references, it goes right back to Bryan Kohberger. So it is of my opinion that this AT&T is actually looking for a second phone for Bryan Kohberger. I truly do believe. And there's my receipts on why I made that leap. Almost too much. Almost too much.
Because they knew enough to get in and out of the house undetected. So I'm assuming
Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, and Zaina were brutally killed in that house. Any incidences were off here. What I find odd right now, this is where 4 slain victims attended school. Was an entry into that home, and I believe it was that bedroom.